Hello Edexcel students, with paper 1 and paper 2 just around the corner. This video is perfectly timed. I'm going to be giving you tips of how to use this remaining time to make sure you are perfectly ready for those two papers, but also I'll be going through the papers, the structure, the time management, the techniques involved, so that you know it's going to go swimmingly well for you. And you want paper 1 to go well, so then you can just copy whatever you did in preparation there for paper 2. You don't want paper 1 not to go so well, so then you have to catch up ground in paper 2. That's not a good mental space to be in. So stay tuned in this video, take everything down, follow the advice given so that paper 1 is aced. Here we go. Advice number 1, in the time remaining before papers 1 and 2, make sure you are mastering the content. Give weight to content mastery. It's the most important thing in your economics revision. It's the most important thing in your exam. If there are gaps in your content knowledge, you will lose a lot of marks. So really make sure that all the topic areas in the spec you are comprehensively covering, number 1. Advice number 2 is that after you've covered the content in your mind to a mastery level, topic by topic, practice a wide variety of questions. I recommend starting with multiple choice questions. That is a great test of your basic content knowledge. It's a test of your revision notes. If you're getting most of those questions correct, I'd say like 80-90% at least, it means you are pretty much a master of that content. But if you're getting a lot wrong, it means there are major gaps in your content, gaps in your notes, which you can then plug. So do that first, then go to essay planning. You don't need to write loads of essays. It's not efficient. It's not a good use of your time. If you know you can write in depth, if you know you can follow time management, you don't need to write loads of essays. Plan essays. Because when you plan essays, you're going to be going through all the skills necessary. When you're writing the essay, you're going to be thinking about analysis and how to develop those ideas in depth, maybe writing bullet points of analysis in your plan. You're going to be thinking about evaluation points, right? You're going to be thinking about how to formulate final judgment on long 25-mark questions. So all of those skills are necessary. You're going to be writing those, but by planning, you're going to be going through the same process anyway without wasting loads of time. So essay planning over and over and over again is a very, very good exercise once the content has been mastered. And lastly, advice number 3 here is to weigh up diagrams in your revision before papers 1 and 2. Diagrams are amazing in economics. They illustrate what you're writing in analysis and evaluation. So firstly, in your revision, make sure you're not just staring at a diagram and you think you know the diagram. You should be drawing diagrams endlessly, over and over and over again, to the point where they become tedious, because that way you're training your hand, that way you know you can draw the diagram accurately. But also, in your notes, next to each diagram, write down where could you use the diagram? What could the diagram be used to illustrate? So then, you're writing an essay in paper 1 or paper 2, you know exactly what diagram you can draw and how to use it to illustrate, to back up the point that you're making. That's a powerful way to revise diagrams. To help you further with diagrams, in my revision for 2023 exams playlist, there are 2 great videos there to watch. One of micro hot power diagrams, and second macro power diagrams. Diagrams to weigh up a little bit extra, which can show off to the examiner in your exams. Great to watch those, but I've also got dedicated diagrams playlists whereby you can see all the diagrams that you need to know. So get those watched if they're going to help you. That way you're revising all the diagrams you need. Also note, guys, when it comes to video watching, there are loads of really important videos to watch in my revision for 2023 exams playlist. Make sure you check those out. Plenty already there. Plenty more to come for both paper 1 and paper 2. These are videos aiming to take you to a higher level, the highest grade that you can achieve in both of those papers. Such an important playlist to watch. So now let's break down the papers. Make sure you're ready to go with them. Let's break the papers down. Well, paper 1 and paper 2 will be structured in exactly the same way, starting with section A. Section A is your easy section. It's there to warm you up into the exam. All it is a test of your content. There'll be 5 questions in section A. Each question will have a multiple choice question in it, and then a variety of small things you have to do alongside. For example, you might need to state or define or list or explain, calculate, maybe draw a diagram. For the multiple choice part of the question, that should be a walk in the park if you followed my advice and you've practiced a wide variety of multiple choice questions linked to all the different topic areas in the course. That will be really easy for you, get your mark and move on. Now, the short little bits attached to the multiple choice, you've just got to make sure you're following what the question says. So if it says draw a diagram, you've got to make sure your diagram is accurate, but it's fully labeled. If it says calculate, you've got to make sure you've shown all your working. You've got to make sure your answer is with the correct units attached. If it's scaled, then you've got to make sure your answer is in the correct scale. You've got to make sure if it says explain, that your explanation is full. There are no gaps in your knowledge, no gaps in your theory when you're explaining something. Fine. Now, when it comes to calculations, over the last few years, Edexcel have asked some little tricky calculation questions. Sometimes they've expected you to know some quite intricate little conditions as well. So I recommend, to make sure you're perfectly ready for Section A, the calculations, the conditions that you might need, watch my key equations and conditions video. It's there on my channel. It's there in the revision for 2023 exams playlist. And make sure you're aware of all the key equations Edexcel might ask you for. The worst thing is to have a mind blank or just to not know the equation, the condition that they're asking for. So watch that video, get it all in your revision, and you should be set. But yeah, Section A is an easy section. It's a quick section. It's simply a test of your knowledge. If your content mastery has gone well, you should be breezing through that section and quickly. My advice is for you to spend 20 minutes on Section A if you can. Yeah, I'm unique in that sense. Edexcel say 30 minutes. I mean, that's ridiculous. You don't need 30 minutes for Section A. You can do it in 20. I say maximum 25. It's just a test of your content. You should be able to fly through it. And you need that spare time for Section B and Section C, where time is really, really tight. So get through it easy, be happy with it, be fast with it, and move on to Section B next. And now to Section B, the horrible, let's be honest, horrible Section B. I don't know what Edexcel examiners were thinking of when they designed Section B. It's not horrible because of difficulty or because of horrible topics. It's horrible because of time management. Every year students struggle with time management in Section B, all these short essays you need to write. So you need to go in there with strategies of how to write these essays, strategies of time management as well. Let me guide you. First of all, know less points done well is much better than loads of points in these essays that are more stated. Less points done well is how to score the highest marks and stick to the time management you have. Know that the extracts are your best friends here. You have to use the extracts in every single question regardless in Section B. But often your core points can be driven from the extracts. You then add the economic theory to it. So that can help you work out the points, but less points done well. That's fundamental. In terms of time management, a mark a minute. Have that in your head. A mark a minute. That's 50 minutes when you add it up, right? 5 for the 5, 8 for the 8, 10 for the 10, 12 for the 12, 15 for the 15. It's 50 minutes. But actually, you've got 1 hour for Section B. So that's 10 minutes of buffer time. If the 10 marker is taking you 11 or 12, you have that time. If the 15 marker is taking you 17, 18 minutes, you know you have that time. So in your head, it's a mark a minute. You want to be brutal there, but knowing there is a little bit of flexibility, 10 minutes of buffer if you need that. And now the structure of the essays. Here's my advice. Start with the 5 marker. This is the only question in Section B where evaluation is not necessary. So this question will often say explain something, or with the help of a diagram explain or calculate. You've just got to make sure whatever the question is asking, you're doing it in full detail. Start by defining key terms in the question, if there are any. There might be knowledge marks for that. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But just define some key terms first. Then, if it says explain, full depth of explanation. If it says calculate, proper depth calculation, meaning all your working is shown, your units are there, your scaling is accurate. If it says draw a diagram and explain, just do that. Your diagram is accurate, it's fully labeled. That should be easy. 1 paragraph overall is all you're writing for the 5 marker. Now the 8 marker, 8 minutes, a mark a minute. The A marker will normally say examine things, examine 2 things, 2 factors, 2 reasons, 2 causes. That's usually the style of the 8 marker. So you're thinking 2 analysis paragraphs in depth as you go through your 2 factors, reasons, causes, whatever, right? So 1 paragraph for 1 factor, 1 for another factor, etc. 2 analysis paragraphs is what we're considering. But 2 marks are for evaluation here, stated evaluation, because your evaluation will be marked in ticks, not in levels of response. So it's not depth of evaluation that matters. You just need to simply state evaluation ideas. So at the end of your analysis paragraphs, state some evaluative ideas. 2 of those, so 1 in your first analysis paragraph, 1 at the end of your second analysis paragraph, you get your 2 evaluation marks and move on. Your 10 marker, 10 minutes, will usually say assess something. Simple technique here, I recommend 2 paragraphs. 1 detailed analysis paragraph, 1 detailed evaluation paragraph. Because evaluation now is worth 4 marks, but it's marked in levels of response. So depth of evaluation in 1 paragraph should get you 4 marks comfortably and move on. Your 12 and 15 marker both will say discuss. They're both very similar in that sense, discuss. So when it comes to analysis, I recommend for both essays, 2 analysis paragraphs. It could be a pro and a con, or if it's a policy-based essay, it could be 2 different policies, and write in as much detail as relevant in your analysis there. For the 12 marker, I recommend simply 1 evaluation paragraph. Ideally, an evaluation paragraph that works for both of your analysis paragraphs, but even if it doesn't, it's okay, it doesn't matter. It's about depth of writing. That's all that matters. So whatever your evaluation point is, write it in full depth. It's only 4 marks again for evaluation on the 12 marker. That should suffice. There are 6 marks for evaluation on the 15 marker. Now, one really good detailed depth evaluation paragraph could score you 6 marks there as well. So you've got to work it out when you're writing, that if your evaluation paragraph is full of incredible detail and you're out of time, you can't write another one, trust that that one is going to be enough to get you 6. But if you've only written a very skimpy evaluation paragraph, you think, I'm going to get credit here, but it's not going to be enough for 6 marks, then write a second one. So it's 1 or 2 evaluation paragraphs. Let time decide. Time management is the most important thing. Writing in detail, less points done in detail. That's the key for section B. Use the extracts well, follow the time management, and you'll be fine. Move on to the 25 marker next. So the 25 marker in section C, there'll be 2 25 markers. You need to pick 1 out of those 2. You've got to pick very carefully. There is a good way to pick. Now, obviously, if one simply is suited to you and the other one you think is horrible, the choice is obvious. But let's say it's like a close call. The way to know which one is better for you is for you to mentally plan the essay. Mentally, very quickly, plan the essay. If one is easier for you to plan than the other one, you know your choice. So pick carefully. Don't just dive in and then regret your choice halfway through writing it. Also note, for this 25 marker, you must have your own real-world examples. Hopefully, you've been adding that to your revision beautifully. You have your brilliant application ready to go. If not, you've got to be doing that. If you have my examples book, that's all done for you. There's still time to get it if you want it, but you've got to have your own real-world examples ready to go. You know the 25 marker is likely to explicitly say, using your own real-world example, your own industry, your own developing country. You've got to be ready for that. And then when it comes to writing the 25 marker, you should at this point have 35 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes to write it. If you've been good in section B and section A, you should have at least 35 minutes, hopefully maybe even 40. But you should be set with your 25 marker structure at this point. Know what your structure is, follow that. But I recommend before you start writing, a quick essay plan just to guide you so that when you're writing, you don't have to stop and think about what's going to be coming next, so that you know you can stick to the time management very easily. Actually, essay planning will save you time because as you're writing your essay, there is no additional thinking time whatsoever. And of your 35 or 40 minutes, 5 minutes you need to leave for the final judgment paragraph. It's a very important paragraph, so make sure you're leaving enough time ready for that final paragraph. Have that in your essay plan as well, and that should be okay, but leave 5 minutes to write it. That is my advice of how to use this time before papers 1 and 2 very effectively, but also a neat breakdown of the papers for you, getting you ready for what's to come. But make sure you're watching all the videos on the channel, especially now, the additional ones in my revision for 2023 exams playlist, many in there to help you for paper 1 and paper 2, many more to come. Really make sure you're watching those to push you to the highest possible grade in those papers. But thank you so much for watching, guys. A lot more to come. Can't wait to see you in forthcoming videos. See you soon.